Hey, how you doing out there? It's Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help insurance agents like you succeed in the insurance business and specifically help those in the final expense life insurance business. So I want to thank you so much for joining what I hope to be a very useful and, more importantly, actionable training that you are going to learn today that will have a major impact on your level of selling insurance, no matter what you sell, whether it's life insurance, final expense insurance, or something completely different from that. So today's topic is all about going into a deep analysis of how to goal set, why it's important, and really with the goal to help you realize your goals financially in the insurance business for the year 2018. I have been looking forward to doing this particular training for a while, and of course the perfect time to do it is in the New Year's period, where everybody has New Year's resolutions, usually weight loss, business alteration plans on their mind, and what better time to go into a deep analysis of how you can do better selling life insurance or final expense or whatever it is that you sell in the insurance business. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to first start talking about the 3 top things that you need to know when it comes to setting goals. After that, I'm actually going to take you off of the screen that you see me on, and I'm going to do a step-by-step analysis in a written fashion to help you better understand how I break down my personal goals when it comes to production, so that you can see the same steps that I take so you can more easily implement them in your own. And then after that, we're going to talk about understanding the difference between the theory of goal setting and the actual implementation. That's where a lot of goal setting training is left to kind of be wanting. It's very easy, even though most people don't do it. It's very easy to set and plan goals and then start to put them into place. But as we all experience through life, life is no more than a series of complications and tragedies and issues that we have to manage. And certainly when we go out to set a goal, we're going to experience the same shortcomings. So I'm going to give you some tips to better manage that reality, because in many cases that's what dislodges a lot of people, including myself. I'll share that more later. We'll talk about the 2 biggest reasons that and problems with not manifesting or not realizing your goals, and how you can overcome that. This is really important too, and I think it affects the insurance agent a lot more commonly, especially the independent one. And then we're going to go ahead and conclude with some final summaries of what you need to take home from this video training in order to better implement your goals. So I first want to give you some adulations for actually watching this video. I know well ahead of time, call me a pessimist here, but the reality is goal setting is not sexy. A lot of people do it. A lot of people train it, and what I'm going to talk about, maybe I shouldn't be shooting myself in the foot here, is nothing earth-shattering. I think some of the things we'll talk about will be a very good reminder. But I can tell you that most people don't care about goal setting. They don't see the real reason to do it. However, there's plenty of studies available that many of the people that go out and actually sit down and write out their goals and then work to achieve them have far greater success in their lives. I've read countless books, especially over the holidays here, about top achieving life insurance agents in a variety of different fields and a variety of different markets. And I can tell you the one thing that stands common between them is they all have goals. They're all passionate about goal setting. They're passionate about self-improvement, and the goal setting process is a part of that. So the thing about success, the thing about having the ability to achieve a higher level of success in your life, as Brian Tracy says, is success leaves clues. Success is a skill set that can be taught. It's something that somebody who isn't successful can learn if they can not just learn it, but then also apply it. So I see this commonality strain amongst all top producers, really amongst all top people in life that just don't make a good living, but also enjoy life to its fullest too. So, you know, the fact that you're watching this is good, because most people won't. And in fact, a lot of people out there, maybe it's you, I hope it's not, if you're watching this, you may not even implement any of this stuff. A lot of people are going to watch this and say, yeah, that's pretty good stuff, Dave. Good video again. And then they'll go about to their business, and they'll waste another year not getting anywhere in their career, and they'll be frustrated. And I say all this from the standpoint of love. I'm on a mission of mercy here to get you to realize that this kind of training, although it's redundant and you probably heard it before, is really the hinge on which the door of your success swings. And the sooner you start to implement goals, you start to implement at least some of this training that I'm going to help you with today, the more that you're going to find yourself accomplishing your goals, feeling better about yourself, actually having direction in your life. You're going to reinvigorate your purpose. You're going to know where you're going for a change, because so many of us, even those in the insurance business, just walk along and follow a path, but with no real direction or significant purpose. And so hopefully the goal today is not just to listen to my video here and get, motivated, but also to actually take action to, again, implement these concepts so that you get results. That's all I care about. And if I help at least one of you do that today, then it was well worth my time doing this. But this really here today is where it all pivots upon. Your success is implementing constructive, cohesive, objective plans to accomplish something great. So let's go ahead and get to work. So we're going to start today with what the top 3 effective steps are in goal setting. Again, like I said, none of this stuff is earth-shattering, but I wanted to get really the core components of goal setting down right away so that you know exactly what you need to do and focus on. There's a lot of different training out there, and what I think is the most effective is what the path of least resistance is. And taking the complex and making it simple is what I strive to do with these trainings. So here's the thing. So first of all, I think the most important thing you need to do when you're goal setting is you need to define your reasons why. If you read the title of this video, it's not just goal setting, but it's about goal setting for insurance agents that are serious about burning their bridges. Now, when I say burning the bridges, that is a common reference to several large battles and conquests over the years where armies and their generals decided that there was no going back. There was no plan B. It was do or die. And the truth is, for any of this training to have any sort of impact on you, you have to be willing to take the risk of losing. And you have to be willing to accept that you have no plan B and there's no going back, that you are completely committed to this. Do or die. No matter what comes, you are not going to allow yourself to anguish in mediocrity. And this is something that's very difficult for someone in my position to impose upon you. There are all sorts of reasons why people do what they do. Perhaps it's the fear of poverty. Perhaps it's the desire for notoriety, good notoriety, of course, or possession of material things. All of our motivational capacities are different. For me, it's significance. I want and freedom. The life insurance business is an avenue in which I can accomplish these things. And this means a lot, especially held in contrast to what I could be doing otherwise, which chiefly could be working for somebody else on hours in which I don't want to, away from the people I love. These things piss me off. I don't want to do that. And so for me, that's a driving force to be successful in an independent capacity as a life insurance agent, because it avoids the things in which I define myself. And many times that's what we do, right? We define ourselves based off of the things that we hate or dislike. And, to have that fresh as a reminder allows us to continue to go in the positive direction towards accomplishment and achieving the goals that we have. So I won't lecture too much on the reasons why. I can just tell you that without a real reason why, without actually burning the bridges, all is for naught. You will escape back into your preset disposition of doing just enough, doing just good enough. And you will find that you will still continue to not get the success you want and be unhappy. So give this particular point the most emphasis. This is really what everything hinges upon. I'm not going to talk about it any further at this point, but as you go back and watch this, make sure that you give this serious contemplation and consideration, because after all, you have one life to live and you might as well live it to the best of your abilities. Okay, number 2 is you got to define what your goal is. And as Donald Trump says, you have to think big. It's all about thinking big when it comes to your goals. If you're new to the insurance business, you've got to define a goal that you think is challenging but is achievable. You obviously, in many cases, it's foolish to say, well, I want to write, $500,000 in life business this year, unless you've really got great contacts and some super systems set up. I have no problem, accepting an awesome goal. It's probably not achievable for the neophyte without a network. However, if you're experienced and you've been doing this a long time, why not? Lift the bar. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Ben Feldman, I don't have the book handy. Actually, here it is right here. The old book here. If you can find this book here, Ben Feldman, okay, the Feldman Method. Ben talks about how you have to raise the bar on your goals, because if you don't raise the bar on your goals, what will happen is that you will become bored and you will sink back into just doing things as you've always done. You will not grow. You will not get to the next level, and your success will be punished from it. As all corporate America says, if you're growing, great. If you're staying stagnant, you're dying. And this is true in personal accomplishment as well, is you have to have goals that are challenging yet achievable, but also inspire you to reach a little more than you had prior. So for you guys out there, if you're experiencing this business, let's say you sell final expense. This year you ended up with the year writing $150,000. Why don't you try to write $200,000? Okay? If you wrote $200,000 this year, go for $250,000. Elevate the bar so that you're getting and growing into a better salesperson, and you're experiencing more financially on a successful basis, but also you're really realizing your full potential. This is where goal setting is great, because you see what you really are capable of. And as you hit those goals, you achieve these levels of success, and it inspires this confidence within you to continue to think big. So define your goal. Look, if you're a new agent in the business, I define my goal in premium. For a final expense agent, a great first year goal would be $100,000 in business. Now we're going to take this number and then break it down so you can see what you have to accomplish on a daily basis to achieve that. If you're experienced, it just depends on what your goal. I would take your production for the year and then do another 25, 30% more. And, again, get yourself uncomfortable with the goal. Get yourself to the point where you got to maybe work a little bit more or do something a little bit different in order to accomplish that. Now, moving on here, last point here, and this is the most important. You've got to set a deadline of which you're held accountable to. So that's kind of the number 4 point. I know I said 3, but we'll just say that's 2, or let's say that's 1. So first of all, deadline. Goals mean nothing without a deadline, okay? One of the problems, as we'll get into later on as an independent agent, is that very few people will hold us accountable, whereas those in a captive environment at least have the opportunity to be held accountable. Part of that is, in the goal setting process, is setting deadlines. You have to produce X by this date. Okay, in the general scheme of things, we know we already have a predefined deadline. I want to write $200,000 by the year's end, right? So we know what our annual deadline is, right? It's self-defined. Now, where things get more specific and more exciting is breaking that deadline down into micro deadlines, okay? Because little accomplishments lead up to that one great accomplishment, the one that takes time to get there. And so what we're going to talk about now is actually breaking down the steps of this particular process of goal setting. So if you don't mind, give me 1 second. I've got to delete a few things on this notepad. I've taken my notes, I printed them off. Part of this was also obviously talking about what we're doing here, making sure we're prepared. So I'm just going to make these a little bit bigger so that we can make sure you can see it on the screen. So just bear with me here. I think that'll be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take you off of my screen, and then I'm going to show you my notepad here. Let me see how to do this. Perfect. Okay. So what you have on the screen here is a breakdown of everything, at least for a final expense agent. I'm assuming, since this is Final Expense Agent Mentor, that you're a final expense agent that wants to achieve success in a measurable and awesome way this year. So I've taken the components of a sample goal and I've broken them down by the components that have an effect on achieving that goal. Additionally, it doesn't matter if you're not a final expense agent, that's fine. This is the same process you would do anyway. So what I'm going to do is take you through this step by step, and this again is a sample. I'm going to continue to use this $200,000 annualized premium goal, and what I want you to really focus on here is this right here. Don't worry about so much now, but if you think about the idea of $200,000 in business, it's quite a lot of premium, right? It may even see, if you're comfortable, writing, 125,000 a year, and you're like, Dave, I'm going to write 200 grand. It may seem a little bit difficult as how to do that just by saying it. It's always going to be like, well, how do I do that? So let's talk about some ways that you can actually accomplish this, because the thing with goal setting is that you have to actually break down your goals. And when you look at them on a micro level, then the light goes off in your mind and you're like, well, okay, why couldn't I achieve this? And it changes the dynamics of what's important. So I'm taking you back over here to the screen. The one thing you want to determine is how many weeks a year, first of all, you're going to work. So down here at the bottom, I'm hoping you can see this. No, you can't. This thing's in the way. Hold on, let me move this over. Whoop. Bear with me here a second. Take my logo off. There we go. Perfect. So the one thing you want to be concerned with is how many weeks a year you're going to work, and then how many days a week. So this is going to help us determine on a weekly and daily basis what we need to write. So in this example, we're going to work 48 weeks a year. Now this is reasonable because you want to take a week or two off, of course, and then you're probably going to get sick, right? Something is going to happen. That happens to everybody. So it's more realistic that you'll only get 48 weeks out of the year. And then here, the next question is, how many days a week are you going to work in the field? 4 days a week is a solid number, okay? So we're going to work Tuesday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, whatever it is that you do. So these are actual defined as field days where you're actually, in the field selling stuff, not doing paperwork, okay? So when I say field days, this is the entire goal of your field day is seeing people and selling product, okay? So not busy work, all right? Just making sure I'm clear on that. So let's keep going here. So out of that total here, if we pull up our calculator here, I think I did the numbers here. Give me a second here. Hold on 1 second. It's going to take me 1 second. All right. So if we pull the old calculator up here, we want to write, well, let's do it this way. 4 times 48, 4 days a week times 48 weeks, right? It's 192 workable field days in the field you're going to be in the field. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, we take $200,000 and we divide it by 192, right? So 192 days in the field to write 200,000 in business, which gives our average production per day that we have to accomplish it. This is $1,041.67 AP. So let's just round up to $1,100, all right? So as you can see down here, I've also included the average case size. Now, this is just a case size for me personally. This will vary, and if you're brand new, just take this number. It's conservative. Lots of guys are writing 600 to 650 AP, but let's use 550 just to give us some latitude. It's better to be safe and sorry when we're planning. So, real easy. If our average is 550 AP, which is mine, we divide that in 1,100, we have 2. So 2 of what? Well, Dave, what does that mean? It means 2 policies a day will hit you $200,000 in premium. All you've got to write is 2 policies a day, or 8 policies a week. Now that sounds a lot more accomplishable, right, than just saying I'm going to write 200 grand. Not too difficult to foresee yourself doing, right? I hope so. It is not a hard goal to accomplish, to write 2 measly policies a day. So obviously that's one component of it. We know what we have to accomplish, but obviously the next step is, well, how much work do I have to do to hit 2 policies a day? So let's switch you back over to the screen here and talk a little bit more about that. Okay, So below the average case size here, I'm going to show you the average conversion. We need to know how many of our appointments actually convert into applications. So this is just a litmus kind of basic number. Some people are doing better, way better even. Some people are doing worse. 50% challenging yet acceptable, or achievable, I should say. So this means of the presentations you sit down with, 50% are going to buy, okay? So if you write one deal, it takes you two presentations. Vice versa, you get 2 presentations, we know we're going to average 1 sale. Hopefully you're following me here. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. You're going to need to know, is how many door knocks do you have to do before you actually create an appointment, okay? So this is important too, because the other activity, we know presentations and seeing people leads to success, but the other aspect you have to consider is what kind of actual activity does it take to get a presentation? So in this circumstance, I'm just going to talk about door knocks because it's the simplest way to do it. You can substitute this for phone calls if you work appointments, or if you work a combination, it doesn't really matter. You can track your numbers on both, and you can come up with some averages that, again, to help you visualize what is necessary to achieve these micro, daily / weekly type of goals. So back over to the screen here. Let's say, assuming we're working direct mail leads, doesn't matter, but for the case of final expense, we're working direct mail leads. And then after a series of door knocks, maybe a month's worth of door knocks, we find that for every 3 door knocks, we get 1 appointment, okay? And then we also find that out of the leads that we purchase each week, that if we door knock them through this method, that 60% of them actually become presentations, okay? So if we buy 10 leads and we go out and see these people, 4 of them tell us to go to hell, and the other 6 sit down with us in some capacity, all right? So our daily goal, therefore, if we're looking at what does it take to accomplish this big goal of 200 grand onto a daily step-by-step process, it's going to take us 4 appointments a day, right? So if we've determined 2 appointments yields 1 app, and our goal is 2 applications a day, assuming our case size is 550, then we need to complete 4 presentations daily. It's a little more accurate to say complete 4 presentations a day. That's it. That is our daily goal. That is what it takes to numerically accomplish these goals on a consistent basis. Additionally, we can even take it a little bit further. If we're just door knocking, all we need to do on a daily basis is knock 12 doors a day. There's a training online here. I think it's by a guy named, what's his name? He is a Lincoln Heritage guy. I think he lives in California. He's a dancer. And he sells life insurance, sells final expense. I think his goal is he wants to just do 10 door knocks a day. And the theory behind that is he knows on a micro level of what kind of activity is necessary to yield the results that he wants. And whether or not he tracks it, I don't know. But the point is that that's what it takes for him. And so here's the point, guys. If we know that it takes 12 door knocks a day to sell 2 policies, then that's our process, which we'll get into a little bit more later. That is a process we need to think about every single day that we step out in the field. I'm going to do 12 door knocks a day. Maybe your numbers are 15. Maybe it's less than 12. It doesn't matter. Your numbers are your numbers. And when you find out what your numbers are, then you can go to work on accomplishing them. It's amazing because it gives you specificity. It gives you objective definition on what you need to do daily to hit this huge yearly goal. Hopefully this makes sense, and hopefully this is extremely empowering because this is that impactful and that useful and helpful to get you the kind of results that you want. Now a little bit further here, take off screen one more time. 1 door knock equals 92 unbanked annualized premium. So what do I mean by this? Don't worry about whether or not you actually sell a door knock. But the thing is your door knock, your activity has economic value, okay? If we assume, rightfully, that 12 door knocks generally will lead to 2 applications, then what is that telling us? Well, that's telling us that there is an economic value for each step in the way that we take in order to make a sale. And the basic approach starts with a door knock. So every time you knock on that door, you can just visualize yourself banking really close to $100 in premium. Now, it's unbanked, it's out there, you can see it because you understand the process and you believe in the process, but you haven't banked it yet. You won't bank it, of course, until you actually make a sale. So, but it's powerful because, again, it defines financially and monetarily an activity which most people think sucks, or, oh, it's a drudgery to go out and door knock, prospect. Well, now, if you think, and it's really true, that each knock that you do is worth something, well, now you're like, well, man, if I think about it like that, it's a lot easier to door knock anything because I'm that much closer to banking some money. And so you've got to remember this step because it's incredibly important. It makes a big difference. So that is the step in the process that I use to get to the point where, okay, what is my goal? What do I want to accomplish on a daily basis? Or I'm sorry, a yearly basis? And what are the steps I need to take on a daily or a weekly basis to accomplish that? And if your goal is to write 200,000 business, it's just 2 apps a day, man. That's it. It's 12 door knocks a day. That's all you need to do. That's easy. Who wouldn't do that? When you think about it that way, and it makes sense that way, hopefully the goal here, by breaking this big goal down to micro steps, is that this isn't a big deal. That all this is just a function of a couple of pieces of activity on a daily basis. Okay, so let's keep on going here. All right. So the next thing, obviously, the biggest thing here is all this stuff is not necessarily a new concept. However, it's a concept in which you've got to understand a lot of people start with this in mind and they're very excited and they're ready to go, and this is a story about myself, but then they find that they fall apart. They run into difficulties. They run into a series of unfortunate events. Maybe they have a really bad week in the field and they lose the motivation that they had when from the outset when they had planned their plan, and they run in against these difficulties that prevented them from actually accomplishing them. So this is where I'm going to apply some personal experience, and I think it's important to understand this as you set the goals, that you really listen to this portion of the presentation, because this is a big differentiator between those who, again, they're rare ones like you who listen to this training and then actually take the next step of implementing it, but run into problems a month or two down the line and maybe revert back to mediocrity. So we're going to work, how do we work around that happening? Because the goal here, just like when we make phone calls, anticipate objections. When we set goals, anticipate issues happening, problems happening, things that will try to force you back into a level of antipathy or anxiety or issues. So first of all, the first thing you've got to understand about or planning and goal setting is that sales in itself is a short-term, sales in the short term is random. So what do I mean by this? On a day-to-day, appointment-to-appointment, even week-to-week basis, we can control some things, but we cannot control others, okay? And between each of the appointments, the only thing we can control is ourselves and what we present and the words that we select. And that makes a big difference in making sales and not making sales, okay? But the thing is, there are a lot of things that are outside of our control. Our clients stand us up. They go to the doctor, something happens, they don't answer the door, they're broke, whatever, they don't have a bank account. So there is going to be a certain level of who knows what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis and a presentation-to-presentation basis. So where am I going with this? Well, what happens is, many times in the short term, the results you get are random. And you can do everything right in the field and have a crappy week from a result standpoint, but your process was square on. It was perfect. Everything was great. But your results obviously sucked. Perfect example for me, I remember in my first year in the business, I wrote 9,000 business. The most I wrote at that period of time was about $9,000 in AP. I was thrilled. The next week I had run the same number of points, like 15 or 20 appointments. The next week I wrote one deal out of like 20. Same people, same county, same lead piece, same kind of prospects, and I didn't get shit. And I was completely demoralized, okay? But the process was the same. And the point I'm making to this too is you've got to be obsessed with the process, okay? It is the process in which you must start and commit to first, because results always follow the process. Now, what that means is that, sure, in many cases, by doing the process, you get results immediately. However, that is not always the case in sales, even in a one-call close environment. Because there's this level of short-term randomness, you have to believe more so in the process than in the results initially. And then, so what that means is you have to commit to this process, even in the face of a lack of results in the short term. Because point number 2 here is that sales in the long term, when we look month to month, quarter to quarter, it's algorithmic, it's systematic, and it's a lot more predictable. Bert Meisel talked about this, and Everybody's Out, or one of his books. I've got it laying around here somewhere. But the point is they're always busy or always out. The point is, he talks about the law of large numbers. And this is true. Numerically, arithmetically, if we take a small sample, let's say we do a survey of people over the phone, and we ask them, do you love salespeople? And we call 5 people, and 4 out of 5 say, yes, we love salespeople. Well, that's a small sample, okay? It's not predictable. It's not scalable. Then we do another survey, and we call 5,000, and 100 people love salespeople. 4,900 people hate salespeople. Well, that's a lot more indicative of what the numbers are than the smaller sample, okay? And so a big step that you can make in your life, especially in achieving your goals, is to be confident and be patient. It's very easy to get lost in the short-term outcomes, okay? And it's very to get discouraged. It's very to go back to your normal state of being by being affected on the fight-by-fight, presentation-by-presentation that we do, as opposed to remembering and having faith and commitment in the longer term, remembering the law of large numbers, because that's really what facilitates and dictates the kind of success that we can get. So you've got to grow yourself to that point and have patience to that. Last thing I want to say is don't expect your plan to formalize a consistent return on your numbers until after several months of tracking. So perfect example I want to reference here too. There are several videos I did back in June of 2017 where I took you through a week-by-week breakdown and analysis of me writing business and making sales. And then I did a month analysis of my closing ratio, all the numbers and stats I talked about. And what's cool about it is you got to see this big difference in results. And you could see how the system was predictable over a longer period of time. And point being here is that it takes a while to get to that, and you're going to have to commit to the system anyway for a couple of months, tracking your presentations, all the numbers that we talked about earlier, and then seeing what they are. And then from that, extrapolating what kind of activity you've got to put into the system to get the results. But understanding, and again, the key thing here is understanding, the obsession is with the process, okay, on a day-to-day basis, not the results, meaning your sales. Because the results, your sales, will come with a commitment, an undying commitment to your process on a consistent basis in spite of short-term failure, because every insurance agent experienced that. So hopefully that made an impact. It has with me in my life. I can tell you I'm in the same boat. We're all afflicted by the short-term outcomes, and it's important to always be reminded this is a long-term career, and we need to be sure and have faith in what comes over the longer term, because that's what really dictates our income, not the presentation to presentation or to week to week. The outcomes are more random versus the longer term. Now, let's talk about the 2 biggest problems with goal setting. So again, what I'm imagining here is that some of you are actually going to do what I've taught. You're going to be excited when you write down your goals and put a plan into place, and then you're going to actually start to implement these things. So that minority of you that are doing this, I want you to be part of that minority. When you're doing this, you're going to run into difficulties. You know you will. We all have difficulties in our lives. You're no different. I'm no different. So how do you handle those difficulties? Well, the biggest problem with goal setting is twofold. Number one is goal setting in isolation. And number two, it's goal setting without a lack of accountability. These are the two biggest cancers that cause goals to be dissipated and cause people to have years of selling insurance experience, but never actually they repeat the same experiences over and over. They never grow out of that into an advanced and elite agent. The problem I see with this is I agreed to do a debate on captive versus independent agents in the final expense business. And I actually took the captive side. Now, I'm an independent agent, and I believe in independence through and through. But the angle in which I plan to take is that the one advantage that a captive agency can provide is accountability. They can provide, a level of connection in a social environment. And in sales, that is one of the most important foundations that anybody that wants to think big and achieve big needs to have. They need to have connection with other successful, like-minded people. They also do not need to isolate themselves. They need to have somebody, hopefully a manager or a group, an inner circle, if you will, of people that share like-minded visions of success, that are supportive of each other, but will keep each other accountable. So the point I'm making here is that in an independent agent's standpoint, this is very difficult. We have to admit this. We go to work every morning. We define our lives the way we want to. We have no bosses to answer to. We go see people and sell as much as we want. But the problem is we go home every night. There's nobody that really keeps us accountable. Maybe our spouses do. If you have that kind of relationship with your spouse, that's great. But we don't have comrades. We don't have fellow agents on a daily basis that we report to, or even a weekly basis, where we can celebrate success, where we can constructively criticize each other with the end goal of lifting the entire tide so everybody sees more success, and individually we get to know ourselves better and learn how to improve. And when you're independent, or when you're an insurance agent, you're independent, like most of you probably are, it's easy to isolate yourself off from constructive criticism. It's easy. You don't have anywhere to go. You probably don't communicate with a lot of other agents on a consistent basis. So it's very easy to battle with yourself and basically put yourself in a position to where you talk yourself out of these goals, because the biggest detriment to accomplishing these goals is the mental war that's waged within the mind when it comes to sales. There's competition out there, but it pales in comparison to the war that goes on inside the head. If you can control yourself, if you can win that victory with the demons inside that tell you you're not good enough, or this goal sucks, or you can't do any better, or this isn't achievable, it's uncomfortable, it's too painful, all that bullshit in your head. If you can win that war, competition doesn't matter, and the goals that you set out to achieve will be very successful. The problem is it's very hard to recognize that weakness that we all have without some third-party intervention. So that's why it's really important to associate yourself with other successful agents, not unsuccessful agents that aren't interested in setting goals, that are just in it because they don't want a real job and their spouse makes enough money to keep them busy. No, you don't want that. You want to surround yourself with success. People who are doing the same things that you want to set out to achieve, that are comfortable constructively criticizing you and keeping you accountable. Know thyself. It takes many years. An interesting thing about sales is that we can't pass the buck to somebody else. We can't blame other people for our failures. It ultimately comes down to whether we do or we don't. And those that do make it big time. Those that don't, go back and get a job working for somebody else, where they can hide their accountability, where they can blame others or another system or a process. And you're either, and part of that process is knowing thyself when it comes to figuring out what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and what you need personally in order to achieve some level of success in your career. So, and where I'm going with this is that if you know yourself, if you're like me, you've known about goal setting forever, you've never actually done any of it, and you understand that there's this thing inside of you that tries to cull you back into normalcy and not get uncomfortable with yourself. It's important that you identify that and set out immediately to surround yourself with others to help keep you accountable, that will constructively criticize you, that will question your logic when you want to diverge from your goals. Again, it can be a spouse. It doesn't have to be other agents. I think it's helpful for other agents because we all share the same problems and challenges and successes. So, but make sure it's with someone who is positive, who's setting goals like you. That's really, really important. And understand this. No man is an island unto himself. Positive social interaction with a mentor does make a tremendous difference, okay? So, you know, whether it's me helping you out through these videos to help you more or less get some action and get some results, that's great. But this is really important here, guys. Do not let isolation and lack of accountability keep you from your goals. No man is invulnerable to these mental issues that we all face. And the sooner you recognize this and accept it and then take action to work around that, the better you will be in your career for it. So some final tips here as we end the broadcast here. I hope you guys are seeing some great new results. Lawrence, I see your question here. If you don't mind hanging to the end, I'll be happy to answer it. I'm just about to wrap up here. Thanks for your question. So here's some last tips here. I want to give a particular agent. His name is Nick Frumpkin. He lives in the East Coast. He's not my agent, but he does. I've read a lot of his comments on Facebook. He made a comment several months ago, so hat tip to Nick, about the obsession with process as opposed to results. And that helped clarify in my mind. Of course, I already knew this, but sometimes you say a thing a different way and it creates a better connection on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And for Nick, that was the greatest thing he did, because really this business is about commitment and having faith and believing in the process. The great thing about the life business, specifically final expense, it's an old business model. It's not sexy. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to implement the plan and have faith based on the fact that dozens and dozens and hundreds even of people like you who are setting out the same plan are having the very same success, not just now, but also for the past several decades. It's a system you can trust in. You don't have to come up with brand new marketing. Hey, Lakita, how you doing? And you don't have to come up with some sort of plan that is unfounded. Even in the life business, Sid Friedman talked about how in his agency, his goal for his agents was 100 new cold calls a week. That was it. And if he followed that and implemented that action plan, the process ultimately over time would yield fantastic results. So be obsessed with the process first. Take time to be committed to it. Be faithful in its process. I can't say enough about faith. It doesn't matter if you're a religious person or not. It's faith in the results. And so take that and go out and follow it. And you'll find that by being obsessed with process, I need 4 presentations today. I know I need to do 12 door knocks in order to accomplish that. That is the kind of commitment you have to have day in and day out to accomplish your goal. So process first. Second is, and part of that, of course, is results always follow the process. You know, like I said earlier, commit to the process. The results will come. It may not always happen in a clear, algorithmic, equation type of way, but it will come if you have faith and can be consistent. Third, write your goals down now. I want you to, first of all, this is very important, and I'm totally not joking here. If you got to go back and watch this again, great, because I think it'll help to take notes if you're not already doing this. But you got to write your goals down. Okay, this is the huge differentiating factor amongst people who are successful and not. Here's my goals right here. I've got a whole list of goals. This is my business goals on one side, and then my personal goals on the other. Basically getting in shape, accomplishing some strength numbers. You're welcome, Tony. and also some business goals that I have for this upcoming year. I took time, probably about 2 or 3 hours, writing all these goals down. I also took time to plan out my schedule and account different times of the day for different types of activities. And then as I go through it, actually write down what I've accomplished and achieved on a goal-by-goal basis on a daily basis. Now that's a different video. I'm going to do a time management video because that's really important in this process of achieving goals. But the point is, I don't know what it is. And can you do it typing on a computer? Probably. But for me, and I've heard this from all the greats, everybody that's accomplished anything significant in life, they sit down and they write their goals down. And they put it in front of them. My goals stick in front of me, in front of my computer, because that's where I'm at most of the time. And I look at them every night before I go to bed, okay, to remind myself what it is that I'm doing, to keep in the top of mind what it is that I'm looking to accomplish. But the act of writing your goals down does something. It internalizes all the thoughts that sift around in your head, and they objectify them. They make them objective. They become real. You get to look at what you've been thinking about, and you get to organize your thoughts. And that is the first step in order to accomplish anything, is to take these concepts and create them on paper. And then from there, setting up your plan to actually achieving them. So here's the thing. I'm totally serious right now. Keep listening to me and hope you love what I'm doing. But grab a loose leaf paper if you're next to your printer. Pull it out of your printer. Grab a pen. I want you to start writing your goals down now as soon as this video ends. Okay? This is the most important thing you can do right now, because I promise you, I don't know why it works. It just does. Writing your goals down is the flame in which the fire of success starts from. It is how we start it. So do not delay. Write your goals down now. Lastly, you got to get somebody involved in this process to help hold you accountable. Someone you look up to and respect. Maybe it's somebody, a friend that's successful. Maybe it's your spouse. It's different for everybody. But somebody who's not going to be afraid to shoot you straight. You don't want somebody who's going to bullshit you. All right? You want somebody who's actually going to say, hey, what did you do this week? Well, I only did 8 appointments. Why did you do 8 appointments? Your goal is 16 appointments a week, if we're using our example. How many sales did you make? Well, and then you're going to feel like an idiot. And that's what we want you to feel like, is an idiot, that you aren't being a responsible adult and keeping your word, your promise, because that's essentially what this is a promise that you're going to keep. There's a little shame goes a far way in keeping us accountable, right? Because we don't want to look stupid in front of the people that we look up to or that we love. And hey, shame has a bad name these days, but it comes in handy when it comes to the ultimate betterment of ourselves, because not having that tends to talk ourselves down from the kind of greatness that we truly deep down really want. So make sure you get somebody involved. After you write your goals down now, I hope you're going to, right? You've already grabbed your pen and your paper and you're doing this, right? You're not forgetting that I asked you, I'm telling you to do this, right? You're going to take these goals and you're going to run to the closest person that you care about and respect and say, hey man, here's my goals. Let me tell you about these. Get somebody involved. Don't forget that step. That's just as important to do. And bottom line, look, final expense, selling insurance, these are businesses that have a lot of success behind them. You don't need to go reinvent the wheel. Find somebody you believe in that can train you on whatever kind of insurance business that you want. Then you should already have your goals down before that. But then establish your goals. Maybe now you have a little more of a personal production goal. Get involved with them. Make sure they're accountable. They're keeping you. You are going out of your way to try to share with them what your goals are. So now you have something to lose. You're burning the bridges, right? Where it's very easy to not burn the bridges when nobody knows, right? So I do hope this training helped you out. This is really important, and you need to do it. Just think of Uncle Dave here screaming at you when you decide to forget about the goal setting here. That's not good for you. And what would Dave do? Dave would have you not live another life or another year of of mediocre results and not being happy, this is the solution to your problem. Write your goals down. You will see success. I'm going to answer some questions down here. Lauren says, hey, Dave, I'm brand new, and this is off subject. What type of leads should I purchase? Lawrence, I'm going to assume you're in final expense. Direct mail leads. Bottom line. Buy direct mail leads. There's all sorts of other leads. I sell other leads, okay? But my agents that work with me, bottom line, in order to work with me, you got to buy direct mail leads. Why is that the case? Because like I talked about earlier, this business is boring. It's not sexy. There's nothing exciting about it. It's the same old thing every single day. You go talk to people, you sell some of them don't buy. You buy leads weekly. You know, it's repetitive. It's consistent, which is great, right? I mean, that's what we want out of a business. But the thing is, direct mail all the top producers I see when they're talking about purchase leads in the final expense business, they're buying direct mail leads, okay? So again, why does it work? I don't know. You can do Facebook leads. Those actually are okay. You can do telemarketing leads. I'm not hot on them much anymore with some of the changes recently made. But direct mail leads, they still work. So why change the system? Just do it, okay? Yeah, they cost a lot of money. So what? Business, you got to take a risk, right? Put it on your credit card. Take a risk. If you're burning the bridges, you know, you're totally committed, you'll make the money back. I always tell agents, too, I recruit, you know, at the end of the day, what if I don't make this? What if I lose money? What if this business is for me? The great thing about final expense is if you just commit yourself to a full month of this, you're committed, you get started, you get out there and you start doing the work. What you're going to find is you're going to know if this business is right for you or not within 4 weeks. I totally, completely believe that. And if you actually try and you're committed to seeing 50% of your leads each week and doing a presentation to them, worst case scenario, you'll just make your money back, okay? Now tell that to the guy who runs a restaurant. He's got to sink 50 grand, 100 grand, redo a building, hire staff, and then the thing fails in 6, 12 months. He's out a lot of money. We don't have that worry here for the guy that actually wants to work. Hey, Tony. You're welcome, Tony. I'm glad you liked the presentation. Arrakis123, thank you. Right way to start the new year. Definitely believe that. This is the perfect opportunity to change your life right now. Your mindset's accustomed to it. It is resolution time. Take action. Write your goals down. You've written your goals down now, right? Right? Do it now. Also, you said, what companies for direct mail leads? I sell health insurance. Health insurance. Well, that's a whole other topic. Is there money in health insurance anymore? Now, I don't know. I don't know. I really know what health insurance, what you would do. I mean, I sell Medicare. A lot of guys do Medicare leads. They do direct mail with Medicare, if that's what you're referring to. As far as traditional health care, I have no clue. I've talked to more agents that have basically gotten out of the market entirely. But if you do Medicare, direct mail leads are great. I like leadconcepts.com. Chris Weir is my guy. He's very good. Go talk to him. You can also talk to leadconnections.com. Both of these guys, high service level, moderate level pricing, nothing overly expensive. But these are the kind of guys that will take care of you and will actually give you leads that supply that are decent quality. And you can use, again, in Medicare, if that's what you're doing, same exact process I've taught you here, the goal set to accomplish your goals. Lakita, I hope I'm saying your name right. Is it Lakeisha? Lakita? I'm sorry if it is, if I'm screwing it up. Everybody screws my last name up too, so I understand. What do you suggest when you go to a customer's house and they have locked a gate? Always taped the delivery notice to the gate. Any other suggestions? Blow on the horn. Get up to the gate and then lay the horn down a couple times and then wait for him. I mean, that's about all you can do, right? You could also see if there's another entrance instead, maybe around the back of the house. Or you can just give him a call. And the only thing I wouldn't say I'd necessarily break in, you know, if it's something like that. I mean, I like to use a little discretion and you know, common sense safety patterns here. You know, some of these people that gate themselves off and are kind of sketchy are not going to take lightly to you walking in and finding a way in anyway. Because some of these people are paranoid, so you just got to be careful, right? But you can lay on the horn, get people to answer the door if the gate, of course, of the house is within vision. Otherwise, try to give them a call when you do your appointment setting. Like, if you can't do it, you can't do it. They've obviously seen the delivery notices. Odds are these people have sent other cards in too, by the way, and they've gotten these people to set delivery notices down as well, and they kind of know what it is. It's some kind of sales pitch, so they're kind of avoiding it. So, you know, try calling them, you know, and just call them and call them and call them until they say yes or no. All right, and you're welcome, Lawrence. You're welcome, sir. Where do you purchase your leads, Dave? So I've got two different options for leads for final expense. I have an in-house program that's only offered to my agents, and that is a fixed price lead program where no matter in the country where you're at, we can get you a reasonably priced fixed price lead. Very good in the Southeast and Midwest, like Texas especially, where response rates are just horrific. And then also, I like doing business with Lead Concepts. I've used Lead Connections as well. Lead Concepts I've been using frequently. It's a very good service. Very quick response rates, good quality of leads. You know, I kind of switch it up to keep things interesting. I'm affected by all the same things you guys are. You get bored doing the same thing over, using the same lead. Ohio. Let me kind of give you some advice for Ohio. The Midwest, thankfully, has very good response rates. It is not unusual to get response rates above 1.5–2% in Ohio and Michigan, and Indiana too in certain parts. So, like for example, in Ohio, it depends. Well, I don't think it really depends. You could be getting 1.5–2% with a life insurance lead if you use the right kind. So that's what I would be doing. I wouldn't necessarily do a fixed price lead in Ohio. Maybe if I was just getting started, want to make sure the response was good. You know, having a fixed price is like, it's like insurance, right? You know what you're going to pay, and you have the safety of what if your leads only give you back 1% and your average cost is $50 a lead or something like that. You know, that sucks, but if you paid the fixed price in the 30s, then you'd be fine. So in that case, yeah. Cincinnati, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's fine. You go up to Cincinnati, up to Dayton, that kind of area is probably all fine. I don't think there's any dramatic difference in response rates from city to city. It's just the Midwest generally responds better, in my experience dealing with agents. So, but yeah, maybe if you've never done direct mail, get with a fixed price vendor. Give it a shot. You know, that way you know exactly what you're spending and what you're getting for it. And there's no uncertainty, because that's the problem with direct mail lead generation nowadays, is that many places have low response rates, and I can't tell you what it's going to be ultimately, right? I can just kind of give you some estimates, but I can't say, for sure what to expect. So you could do fixed price, kind of get a feel for it, and then change it up later. That's always a safe way to go. And the savings difference isn't that dramatic. You know, you may save $5 a lead. You know, you buy 20 leads, it's just $100. In the scheme of things, not a tremendous amount. Amira Velez, what about Florida? What part of Florida are you in? That would kind of help. I can basically give you the generality of Florida. It's horrible for response rates. Florida, everybody knows, this is how I explain Florida. Everybody knows there's old people in Florida, right? And that's all it is, old people. There's some young people too. But Florida is mostly full of old people. And so there's a lot of businesses oriented around selling to old people. You've got the walk-in shower business. You've got the insurance business, Medicare, final expense. Hillsborough County, that's like Tampa, right? It's flooded with people like us trying to, hustle some wares to these old people. And so they're constantly solicited through the mail, on the phone. And so what's happened is there's a general dampening effect on the response rate quality out of Florida. It's imperative, with that all said and done, to buy direct mail leads at a fixed price, okay? I'm a big believer, if you're going to work Florida, most of the Southeast, buy a fixed price lead. You will find, however, response rates are a little bit better in Central Florida and upwards into the Jacksonville Panhandle area. Now, not entirely all of the Panhandle. I've heard some people have some really poor response rates in part of the Panhandle. But if you work in Central Florida onwards up, you'll find it's a little bit better. Where you're at is fine. I knew an agent that did a lot of business north of Tampa. I can't remember the towns that are up there, but kind of more rural. He did fine out there. Response rates are fine. But no, in your case, you'd want to be on a fixed price lead. It makes all the difference. Now, this is just specifically, by the way, for you guys joining in. This is about direct mail leads. You do Facebook leads, it's a fixed price. Doesn't matter where you're at. Telemarketed leads, same thing. There's a difference in response rate, but those are always sold as a fixed price lead in most cases. Last call for questions. If you guys have any questions about anything at all in final expense, since I'm answering them, feel free to throw them out there. If you're just tuning in, we just got done with a really good video on goal setting. I highly advise you to go back, sit down in a quiet room with a clean sheet of paper and a pen, hopefully not like this highlighter, something you can actually see, and take notes on this training, and then get to work writing your goals down now, because that is the key to seeing success in any endeavor you do in life, especially selling insurance. If you guys have any questions, anything I can help you with, feel free to comment below, whether you're watching this as a recording or live stream. I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Amira, feel free to call me or go to my website, feagentmentor.com/greetings, not greetings, /contact. And then send me a message. I'll send you, I'm a recruiter. I work with agents nationally. We may work together. I'll kind of give you some information to let you see how my program works so you can decide if it makes sense for you. If it doesn't, I'm happy to give you some recommendations too as well. I've at times sent agents elsewhere if I felt it was a better match for them. Let's see. Lawrence says, is there a minimum I have to buy with lead concepts? Just 1,000. I think they're like $460 per 1,000, $470. It's a good price. It's fair. Arrakis, I'm passionate about it, but get frustrated when I don't meet goals, or when other business things end up eating into my goals. Suggestions about preventing frustration. So, big part of that's accountability, okay? You need to know that you're not alone. Everybody who sets goals gets frustrated. Everybody who sets goals and sets a clear path of accomplishment will experience setbacks. They'll experience circumstances in which you question if the goals you set out to accomplish are the right ones or not. That's why it's so important to associate yourself with people who are goal-oriented and minded as well. If they're not, if you're associating people who aren't that way, who are frustrated, who are angry, but don't have a positive mindset and a disposition to set these goals, you're going to find that their negativity will bring you down. Whereas if you're associating yourself with positive people that have goals, that share their frustrations and how they overcame it, especially it's good to associate with people who have accomplished well more than you have. As I learned later in life, the importance of the saying, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. If we can associate with people who have done what we've set out to accomplish, and they can relay their experience, there's a lot of value in realizing that, wow, this guy look at this guy. He's got X, Y, and Z. He's got this great house, great life. He's experienced all the same things I've experienced. Tony Robbins talks about this in his motivational training. He says there's two things you should read. One, of course, is his kind of work, the self-motivational stuff, the self-improvement stuff. And then number two are biographies and autobiographies. Because when you read about other accomplished people, you find out that their day-to-day life is full of a bunch of setbacks. That their day-to-day life, they experience things that literally would have caused them to fail if they had not overcome that. And again, had this accountability metric installed in them. I'll tell you this, guys. I'm going to do a review on this book. This book is phenomenal. It's called Growing Rich. It's by a guy named Randall Baskin. He lives up the road at the Nashville. Guy's in his late 80s. Check this out. He had a job at a shop. He has no degree. Lived in a trailer with a roof that leaked on him. He didn't have plumbing until he was like in his 20s, I think. His mom was suicidal. His dad drank. He lived a rough life in the Depression era. And his first job, he was working in a shop, and he got an offer, saw an ad in a paper for a life insurance job. He walked in. He called up, walked in to do the interview, and he was hired. They were going to bring him in and actually do his first day. He quit. He didn't go do it. Okay, So the manager called him back. He got him back in there. He did a week. He did great. And then his wife talked him out of doing it. He went back to work at the shop. And this guy, Randall Baskin, is the creator of American Continental. He sold to Genworth, I think maybe 10 years ago, for $145 million. All right? This guy almost didn't even get involved in this business because he got talked out of this stuff. But he lost his son later in life. He experienced difficulties with agents and companies. So where I'm going with this, I don't mean to go on about this stuff, but my point is that the bottom line here is that books like this help you understand the reality of what everybody experiences. We all experience setbacks, and we shouldn't be in a position in which we should be in a position where we're too critical of ourselves, because every single successful person has gone and experienced the same thing. So I hope that helps out. Ruckus continues and says, ran into with other agents that were negative and took time complaining about it. Successful agents just keep moving forward. Absolutely, man. Don't let negativity bring you down. Ignore it. Stay committed to the process. And associate, again, I feel like I'm repeating, but it's worth repeating. Associate yourself with the most successful. Find somebody you look up to and you're accountable to, and be committed to them. Other than that, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you did find this valuable. If I can do anything for you, leave a comment. Go to my website, feagentmentor.com/contact. Send me a message. I'll be happy to help you out. You guys have a productive day. Write those goals down. See you later.